And what does it like to be a researcher? Well, basically, it's really fun to be a researcher. To be honest, it's fun because I get to learn a lot of different things, and also not only about science itself or just about academic stuff. I also get to learn about public speaking and also a bit of finance and project management because as a researcher, you need to be able to direct your own research with a bit help with by your supervisors, but more likely you have to do it by yourself, like independently. So probably I would share like what a day as a researcher looks like. Well, normally I started my day around 8 a.m. Then I'll come to the lab, work, and then if I have a lot of lab works, then I'll spend probably 5 to 8 hours in the lab, like basically the whole day. But if not, I'll probably just do a bit of lab works. And we've got a lot of meetings with supervisors, with other researchers. We also get to have presentations, doing conferences and things like that. And also this part of I call it as a science communication. We call it science communication. So basically, we learn how to deliver our research outcomes or complex science materials to people without in-depth knowledge in that field, so they can understand what we are doing and then what's the significance of our research for their lives and the communities. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So the concept that researchers only spend his or her life on the library is quite wrong, yeah, Miss. Yeah, because it seems like you also learn many things as you've mentioned before, like public speaking,
Yeah.
finance. So yeah, perhaps if perhaps the student here also get a new concept about what a researcher or scientist will look like in the future. Yeah. So if they got kind of like dream to be a researcher, they won't be afraid because there will be lots of experience going on, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yep. Okay, so moving forward to what we are going to have or the topics that we are going to discuss today. So, as many people know, yeah, the world has been battling with the ongoing pandemic since early March last year. So, I guess several days previously, we just celebrate a year with COVID-19, right?
Right.
And it seems like the trend and also the case, especially in Indonesia, haven't declined yet. And so that's why we have this specific session with Miss Yoko today. So, Miss Yoko, can you tell us a bit more about what are the things that we are going to discuss, that we are going to deal with today?
Right. So today, I've been asked to give to share a bit about vaccine in general, and I'll be incorporating a COVID-19 vaccine and as an examples in our presentation today. So I'll be covering like the basics: what is vaccine and how does it works, and how we actually make the vaccine, how many types are there, and well, probably the most important questions that we have um, as the person who will receive the vaccine, like, is it safe and how effective is it? And will I get protected after I get um, the vaccine? So probably we just started the presentation, right?
Yes, you may, Miss Yoko. You may start
Yeah.
your materials.
All
Okay.
right. Yeah, just a housekeeping. If you have any questions, burning question, just put it in the chat. Then Miss Johanna will help you to like facilitate the question and answer session after the presentation. So gonna share my screen now. Oops. Mm, cool. Oops, sorry. Right. So I believe that you guys have seen this picture a lot uh, last month when, no, in January, mid January, when the government announced the first vaccination of COVID-19 in Indonesia. And the government encouraged us to get the vaccination when it comes to our turn. And probably for most of us, we'll get a lot of questions like, is it safe? Like, am I really need to get the vaccine? And then how does it actually works to protect me? Like, am I still going to get COVID-19 if I get the vaccine or not? So today I'm gonna focus on this question. Like I'm gonna try to give perspectives about different aspects in vaccine itself that hopefully will help you guys to understand like why should I get a vaccine for COVID-19. First of all, we need to understand what is a vaccine. So vaccine is basically a product that can stimulate your immune system and prevent you to get a certain type of disease. So each disease has a specific vaccine. And before I get into how does the vaccine actually works, I will explain about the natural immune response that our body has. So when there is a germ and the germ gets into our body will activate their immune system. And when the immune system is activated, the immune cells in our body will produce weapons. And this weapon, we call it as the antibodies. This antibody is specific, so they can recognize the germs that got into our body and then help our immune system to basically destroy these germs so we don't get sick. The principle of the germs and antibody, how they can recognize a specific germ. The germ itself has specific protein that we call as antigen. So it's kind of like the identity of the germ. So each germ has a different antigen that will be recognized by our antibody. And our antibody is specifically created to recognize the antigen. When the germ comes in, the antibody will bind with this antigen, so the body knows which cells that they need to destroy. So imagine that for the whole life, we can get exposed to different types of germs, bacteria, viruses. And luckily, our immune systems, they are smart. They can learn and they can memorize what kind of germs that have been exposed to our body. And they will keep this memory. For instance, like the blue germ, they will get the blue antibody, and then the pink one got the pink antibody. So they're very specific. So when the next time the germs comes into our body, they can produce a lot of antibodies and help the immune system to attack these germs and then basically destroy that. But what happens if our body has never been exposed to a specific germ, like a new germ? For instance, I would say like this is the COVID-19 virus. Well, this is a new virus that hasn't been founded in human history. And our immune system can get very confused because they don't recognize this germ. Like, who are you? Like, I don't know you. I don't have the antibody for you. So it's basically taking a lot of time for our immune system to generate the antibody, like the enough antibody to destroy this virus. And unfortunately, when our system is weak, or we've got an exposure of a lot of COVID-19 virus, we can get sick because of that, because our immune system doesn't have enough antibody to destroy the viruses. And this could be a problem for us because we can develop the symptoms of COVID-19 if our antibody cannot destroy all the virus on time. Then Therefore, we need something to help our immune system to get stronger. And this is where the vaccine actually comes in. So, the vaccine can help us to build our immune system to get ready for COVID-19 exposure, to help us to destroy COVID-19 virus when we get exposure of that virus. Then, how does the vaccine actually works? The vaccine itself, it contains the germ. So it can be the whole part of the virus, or just the subunits or genetic materials of the virus. And the most important thing about the virus, about the vaccine, is even though it contains the germ or the virus that is actually dangerous, for the vaccine, people created another version of the virus or the germ, which is not harmful for us. So it wouldn't get us sick. So it's totally safe for us. Then basically just follow the natural immune response as the when the germs get into our body, it's the same. When we get the vaccine, then we've got the non-harmful viruses component into our body, then our immune system will be activated. Then at first, if it's a new viruses, our immune system wouldn't understand like who are you, and then they will need to develop a new antibodies for that. But because it's not harmful, we won't get the disease. They will have time to produce, to learn, and to memorize the antigen of the virus that inside the vaccine. Then when the actual COVID-19 virus get into you, like the harmful version, our immune system can remember which antibody needs to be produced to destroy the virus. And it will help the immune system to actually attack the virus and eliminate it from our body so we won't get sick because of COVID-19. So, in a nutshell, how does a vaccine work? When we get a new exposure of germs, our immune cells do not understand how to deal with this. So, with the vaccine, it will help our immune cells to learn and to memorize to produce the antibodies. So, it will strengthen our immune response system when the actual germs get into our body, like we've got infected by COVID-19, for instance, we will have enough antibody to destroy it, and it will prevent us to get COVID-19 symptoms, or even like the severe symptoms that may cause death. So I hope this one helped to understand how does a vaccine work. After we understand how does it work, then probably we got a lot of questions about what kind of vaccines that are available, especially for COVID-19. We hear about the mRNA vaccine, we've got about the viral vector vaccine, or just the standard vaccine with the inactivated subunits of the virus itself. So to create a vaccine, we can actually use different components of the germs or the virus, for instance. So we can use the whole virus, or we can use just part of it. In COVID-19, most of the vaccines, they use the spike proteins, which is located on the outer side of the virus. And the new vaccine, they utilize the genetic material of the COVID-19 virus itself. So if we can actually group the COVID-19 vaccine approach into conventional and the new approaches, which is using the mRNA and viral vector to trigger the immune response. So in the conventional one, we use the whole virus or the protein subunits from COVID-19 virus. And with the new approaches, we take out the mRNA of the spike proteins sequence, and we can wrap the RNA into a viral vector as it's like a car. So you put the mRNA into the viral vector, and then this viral vector will deliver the mRNA into your body. Basically, the purpose of both approaches, the conventional or the new approaches, is the same. It's to help our immune system to build the antibody for COVID-19. The major differences between the conventional and new approaches are the components of the virus that they are using and how they deliver it actually. So with the conventional one, you just get the whole virus or the protein subunits, and then you put it in a buffer, I'll say, and you just inject it into the body, and then it will trigger the immune response from our body to produce the antibodies, because the whole virus and the protein subunit itself is an antigen. It's the identity of the COVID-19 virus. So our immune system can recognize this. In the new approaches, instead of sending the part of instead of sending whole virus or the protein subunits, with the new approaches, the scientists take out the genetic material of the virus, of COVID-19 virus. So this mRNA actually encodes the protein subunit. The difference is, rather than delivering this into our body, they deliver the genetic materials into our body so our cells can produce the protein subunit, and our immune system will recognize this, our cells that produce the protein subunit, as an antigen. Then they can produce the antibody to tackle the COVID-19, to recognize COVID-19 virus when you get infected after vaccination, in case. And this is just a recap on what kind of vaccine, COVID-19 vaccines that in clinical trial, phase 3 now. So it's basically the latest phase of vaccine development. So if you are familiar here, I'm not sure if you can see here. So the first one that get approved is the Pfizer BioNTech. This one is RNA vaccine. They use the mRNA approach. So they send directly the mRNA molecules as a vaccine. Then you may hear about the AstraZeneca one and also the Sinovac. I think these three are currently approved, have been approved in Indonesia. Uh, in Australia itself, we are currently using the Pfizer, BioNTech, and AstraZeneca. So if you see here, there are around 11 vaccines that currently in the final stage. Some of them has been used in different countries like United States, China, and South America as well. So in the corner, you can see like there are P123. This is basically the step of creating the vaccine itself. So after this one, I'll get into how are the vaccines actually developed. So it involves 4 stages. So the first one is, of course, we do a lot of research in the laboratory. So the scientists taking tests with cells, with the virus itself, they learn the interaction about the protein subunits. Then if they found the candidates for vaccine, they will go step up a bit into the trials in animals. So with the animal study here, they actually develop a model. So for instance, a mouse model that exhibit a similar condition to human, then they inject the vaccine, they test, measure, is it effective, is it not, does the mouse generates an antibody in themselves after exposure from the vaccine. And once they are sure that, all right, this vaccine is working, then they move to clinical trials. In clinical trials, they're basically testing uh, the vaccine candidates to human. So there are three phases in clinical trials: phase one, phase two, and phase three. In the phase one, they normally just test the virus into like probably 10 or 20 people. Then, if it works, then they move into the phase two, which is about like hundreds people, to see like if it's effective and if there's any side effects. Then, if the vaccine is safe, they move to stage three, which involve a lot of um, people in the different regions or different country normally, to see if the vaccine is actually effective, and then to measure the efficacy and also like side effects in different people from different countries. Then after they go through all this process, then we can say that the vaccine is approved. So for the COVID-19 vaccine itself, which is currently in development actually, initially, until around 3 days ago, this data was obtained like 3 days ago as abstract from the website. And there are 182 vaccines. They are currently in preclinical. So a lot of people around the world are trying to get the most effective vaccines for COVID-19, and there are 182 vaccines. But if you can see from preclinical to the clinical trial itself, from 182, it's dramatically reduced into 24 vaccines. That, um, well, sometimes can get more, around 28 vaccines, really. Sometimes they modify after phase one, they can modify, then they can incorporate more. Then going to phase three, the number is reduced again. Then it's less likely like the number is going to increase after the clinical trials, because you will get a lot of various results. You the vaccines may not be working as it is. For instance, in Australia itself, we've got, I think, like couple of vaccines that were going into phase one and phase two, but they didn't succeed in phase three. So they go back into the preclinical one, and they're still working on it. So this is basically give us the picture about how difficult it is to get vaccines from lab experiment to actually get a functional vaccine that is safe for human and it's working and is effective to help us improve our immune system to tackle COVID-19. And talking about effectiveness, in vaccine itself, we often hear about, oh, this vaccine is 95% effective. This one is 18%. It's actually, we talk about what we call as vaccine efficacy. So it's the definition of vaccine efficacy itself is how many percent reduction in cases after we get the vaccine. So before the vaccine, for instance, if we got 100%, then after we get vaccination, we got reduction about 95%. So that 95% is the efficacy of the vaccine. So it's normally how we can get this number is by comparing vaccinated versus the unvaccinated group. So we've got a group of people, group A, they've got vaccination, and then group B, they don't get the vaccination. And then they measure and comparing between these two groups. And it's normally happen in controlled settings. So the scientists and the doctors, the clinicians, they control um, the age of the people that involved in the trials. They measure their health condition, and basically they test and record everything. And they normally will pick healthy and young people to do it. Then we will hear also about vaccine effectiveness. The differences between vaccine efficacy and vaccine effectiveness is the vaccine effectiveness. The purpose is to ensure that the vaccine uptake in the population, and we can get a lot of data by looking at the population after this vaccine is distributed, for us to get suggestions how to improve the vaccines that we are currently have. So this is basically going to focus on observational studies. This might be a bit of terminology. So observational studies is looking at the population. So for instance, in Indonesia, like how many vaccines have been distributed, how many people have got the vaccines, and then inside the vaccinated group, like people who got the vaccine, how many of them contracted COVID-19 and how many of them develop um, immunity to COVID-19. So it's basically what vaccine effectiveness is focusing and looking for, while the vaccine efficacy is focused on how effective the vaccine itself, how powerful the vaccine itself to help a human to not to get contracted by COVID-19. And if we get vaccinated, some of us might develop side effects, but normally it's gonna be minor side effects. It's just like a standard, not a standard. It's a common symptoms that we get when we have our vaccination. If you remember when you were a kid, you've got a hepatitis vaccine. Then after the injection, you will sometimes you will feel pain or get swelling or redness around the location of injection in your arm. Some people they develop fever, chills, or feel a bit tired, fatigue. Some of them get headache or a bit nausea after vaccination. It's just a common symptoms showing actually showing that your body is responding to the vaccine. So it's actually a good sign. That means the vaccine is working, and then your body is responding quite well to that. Like for me, I've got all these symptoms when I got vaccination. So yeah, it's pretty much common. Then the rare one is allergic reaction. So some people they can get allergic reaction if when they get vaccine, because the vaccine itself, in the vaccine, it's not only the germs. So there are a lot of components added into the vaccine, including uh, to make the liquid, and then sometimes they contains eggs or I'll say an allergen. So when some people they are very sensitive to the components of the vaccines, so when they get the jab, they can get a very severe allergic response. That is why when you get a vaccination, normally you will have to fill a form, or you have to inform your doctor what kind of allergies that you have, and then whether you have any previous reaction in your vaccination before, so the doctors know whether you can actually get the vaccine or the vaccine is going to be safe for you or not. Then after the vaccination itself, we may ask like how many months or days or weeks I should wait. Like if I get the COVID-19 vaccination this morning, am I going to be immune in the afternoon? Or I have to wait for a couple of weeks probably? Well, generally for the vaccine to work optimum, um, it's around 28 days, but it's general. it depends on each vaccine. So you can ask your doctor, or probably get, if you would like to read, you can access the company website or the government website. They normally will provide how many days it's actually, you will have the maximum protection from the disease. Or for instance, if it's COVID-19 vaccine, like how many days it's gonna take for you to get a full protection from COVID-19 itself. And then some vaccines, they need a second dose, or we know this as a booster vaccination. So the purpose of the second dose is actually to um, pump up your immune response to get more antibody. So it's like strengthening, because the first one, they normally is like very small and can be considered as weak. Then you need the second one to make it even stronger. So if you can see here, like days after the antigen exposure, to get full protection, it requires like around probably like 25 to 28 days. So it's the standard, it's a general time that is required by our immune system to develop a full protection after vaccination. But again, this one is a general one. So each vaccine can be different. For instance, if you hear about the Johnson and Johnson vaccine for COVID-19, it doesn't need the second uh, vaccine injection. It doesn't need the second dose. So it's just one time injection at first. Um, it will take around 2 weeks. But again, it's different. And since the COVID-19 is barely a new vaccine, so a lot of studies going on to see the effectiveness, the efficacy of the vaccine itself in different population. So you need to be aware that different country, different people may have different effects, and also probably a slight difference in vaccine efficacy itself. So if we go back to the initial questions that are asked at first, like should I get vaccinated for COVID-19? Hopefully, after this presentation, you'll understand that vaccination will give us protection, but it will take times for our body to develop a full protection, for instance, for COVID-19 itself. So at the meantime, if you can get an access to a vaccine and it's your turn to get the vaccine, please get vaccinated. But after you get vaccinated, please keep wearing a mask, stay 1.5 meter apart, and then always wash your hands. So it's very important, because after you get vaccinated, your body still need time to develop the antibodies, and you also need to protect the people around you, because you never know where the virus is. So yeah, it's better to be safe than sorry. So yeah, and this is just a bit of references if you're interested to read more about the vaccine, especially COVID-19. So I curate all the materials that I delivered today from this vaccines, this website. Sorry, um, they have a pretty good videos about each step in vaccine development, and also the latest news about the vaccines. And I think it's very people friendly, their explanation, because and also complete. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it from me. Hopefully you guys enjoy the presentation. If you have any questions, or you want me to repeat to explain in certain parts, I'm more than happy to do it.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Yoko, yeah, for helping us with very useful materials today about COVID-19 vaccine, right? So actually, I have two questions. Yeah, I actually. So the first questions is perhaps right now we are talking about the COVID-19 and case in Indonesia, right? What about in Adelaide itself? Can you tell more? Could you tell us here about the case there? Is it similar with here in Indonesia, or people there are more like follow the protocols, the health protocols, and also do people there also get the vaccination? Perhaps you could answer for that one first, and then I will continue with the second questions.
Cool. Yeah.
And oh, wait a minute, Miss. And for you are guys who wants to get, if you want to ask more questions, you can raise your hand after my second questions, and then you can also chat to me, yeah, or just directly chat to. Oh, I've got a chat here. Okay, chat to me here, and then I will happily relay your questions to Miss Yoko. Okay, but Miss Yoko, can you please help us here to answer the first question? Thank you.
Well, in Adelaide, currently, we don't have local transmission cases. So we only have 4 cases, and it's all coming from international travelers. So basically, we've been like 0 cases local transmission since I think December last year. After we got almost the second wave, we went into lockdown for 3 days in November last year. Then after that, we don't really have new cases, and actually, right now in Adelaide, we're just living like normal, like literally like normal, but we keep the health protocols, 1.5 meter apart, and then we have to sanitize our hands every time we enter the rooms or the buildings. And the government also provided what we call as QR code. So every time we enter a supermarket or even like just a shop, we have to scan a QR code. So it helps the contact tracing team in here, just in case if there is an outbreak, they don't have to call or try to figure it out from CCTV camera who were there before. They just have all the data. So that's what we are currently doing in Adelaide. So we are doing pretty well here. We don't have to wear a mask when we go outside, except we are sick or in a hospital, I guess, right now. But for general people, when we go outside, we don't really have to wear a mask. We just have to stay 1.5 meter apart. And then there are specific regulations if we have events, for instance, like weddings or even just small gathering. The government provide us a specific cap, for instance, like 200 people for weddings, no more than that. And they need to register their events and then have what we call as COVID marshals. So COVID marshals, they are responsible to make sure that everyone follows the health protocol. And about the vaccination itself, Australia has just started this month. Yeah, this month. Yeah, we started. We've got a couple of batch of vaccination rollout. So the first one is for high risk people, people who works in border or immigrations, health workers, and also in hospitals, and then elderly people. So yeah, like the most high risk, they got the vaccine first. Then I think like for general population, the young adults one, it's gonna be around in the end of this year, I guess. In the end of this year, yeah,
So it's actually pretty much rich. The same with Indonesia. Yeah, they also got started like this month, or yeah, partially like
yeah,
next
yeah.
last month, right? Okay, so my second question is: I got a lot of if I read a news, for example, in a newspaper or even in a website, yeah, they one question is that they have a statement like this: is Sinovac, yeah, the one that get I mean, the vaccine that is get the vaccine for Indonesian people right now, is it less better compared to Pfizer or AstraZeneca one? Because I heard lot of news that people do not want to get vaccinated because they thought that Sinovac, or yeah, the one that we get right now, is less compared to the one like Pfizer or AstraZeneca. Perhaps could you give us more about these questions, perhaps, so that yeah, there won't be kind of like a misunderstanding or misinterpretation about the news there. Thank you.
Well, I'm probably not the best person to answer about this because I'm not, I'll say I'm not researching or studying about COVID-19 vaccine or the COVID-19 virus itself. But what I know about the differences between those vaccines, so this Indonesia has Sinovac, uh, AstraZeneca, and Pfizer. So the differences between those vaccines, the Sinovac, the vaccine is inactivated virus. So they use inactivated virus. Then for AstraZeneca, they use, I think it's a viral vector one. They use genetic materials wrapped in a viral vector. Then for Pfizer, it's the mRNA. So the vaccine contains mRNA, so they send the mRNA directly as a vaccine. So based on their trials, those vaccines have different efficacy. So I wouldn't say it's not my place to say if it's less or more than compared to the others. What I can say based on the data that Pfizer currently has the highest efficacy results based on the trials, then followed by AstraZeneca and Sinovac. So I wouldn't say which one is more, which one is less. I would say based on the data, there are different vaccines. There are different type of vaccines, and they have their own efficacy. So yeah, probably, hopefully that makes clear. Yeah, I don't think like it's good to say which one is better.
Yeah,
It's
but
not.
yeah, I know, I know, I know,
I
I know,
would
I know,
say,
I know. Yes, I
yeah,
know.
I would
But
say
yeah,
like
perhaps
they
yeah, but
they have different efficacy. Yeah,
yeah, but those three vaccines are still effective ones, right? So yeah,
yeah,
we still need
yeah.
to get vaccinated.
They have
Yeah,
efficacy.
either yeah,
Yeah,
even though we get Sinovac one, yeah, but it's still good for our body, right, to protect us from COVID
yeah, yeah,
19. So
yeah.
so we shouldn't be afraid, yeah, if we get vaccinated, even it is from the Sinovac one. Okay, so thank you,
Absolutely.
Miss. I got two more questions here, but perhaps if is there any more students who wants to ask here, can you raise your hand? I will read the one from the chat box first. So
Cool.
I will start for this one. It's from Keisha, 7F. So what requirements we must do in order to be vaccinated or get vaccinated?
Well, that's a good question, Keisha. Hopefully, I pronounced that correctly. Um, so from what I know, when I try to look for the requirements, like asking myself if I need to get vaccinated, what's the requirement? Basically, there's no very specific requirements like candidate. You have to be this, this, and that. No, but you need to have check with your doctor if you have certain allergies. You need to report about that. You need to let them know. Or in Australia, they are focused on immunocompromised people, so people who has immune disorder. So they need to talk to their doctor about getting the vaccination. And also, if you have contracted COVID-19 before, and if you are, it's not I don't think it's applied to you guys if you are pregnant or not, because there might be a side effects, or we don't know. This is a new vaccine and they are still monitoring the trials, and then the current vaccine rollout worldwide, so they are still collecting data. So based from what I know, we don't really have a specific criteria. Yeah. The thing that you need to be aware of is allergies and immunocompromised. If you are immunocompromised or taking medication to compromise your immune system, and if you are pregnant or not, and if you have contracted COVID-19 before. That's what I know.
Thank you so much for the clear answer, Miss Yoko. Yeah. Next question. You talk about the allergic reaction to COVID-19 vaccine, right? So the next question is from Luis here. So wait, let me read the question first. For a minute. Okay, so um, you said that there is a rare reaction if you got from the vaccine, which is the allergic reaction. Now, but if is there a vaccine? If the vaccine won't work, do you have kind of like vaccine for the rare reaction, or what happens with those people with the allergic reaction? Should they also get vaccinated? If yes, how? If no, how? Nah, things like that, perhaps. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Luis, for the question. Probably I'm just clarify. Like, the question is, if the person uh, gets the allergic reaction, what they should do. Right. Okay. So normally, before we have the vaccination, we need to state our list of I'm allergic to diseases to our GP. Then after we get the vaccine, if we develop an allergic reaction, um, normally the response, the allergic reaction will come up like really quick. From what I read, it's supposed to be like around 15 minutes after you get the vaccination. If you get that one, like the allergic reaction could be a mild one or a severe one. Like the dangerous one, if you get the severe one, you can get what we call as anaphylaxis shock. So it's basically you cannot do anything. You need to get a epi shot to basically go to the hospital. So it is a very rare one because before they release the vaccine for a global use, this allergic one they need to pass it in clinical trials. So normally it is very very rare. Like I would say it's like very very rare. And what happened if you have allergic reaction to this? To be honest, I don't know. Right. If you get a, for instance, if you get vaccine A, you get jab, then you get allergic reaction. Of course, the first thing that you need to do is to get recovered, and then after that, like the doctor will ask you like and identify probably what what components in the vaccine that makes you allergic. Then after that, this is just speculation. To be honest, I don't know. I've never read about that because it's very rare for someone to get allergy to vaccination. Uh, Probably they will refer you to other type of vaccines that doesn't have the components that makes you allergy. But yeah, this is very rare. And my last answer is speculation. But yeah, it's very rare from what I know. From other type of vaccines, it's very rare. I hear that someone gets allergic reaction because the vaccine itself. Normally, it's because the component uh, of the vaccines that makes them allergy, but it's very rare. They have to make sure that it doesn't give you allergic reaction before they release it for use. And also, even though from the company and the scientists, they already passed through the clinical trials, phase 3, and then approved by different countries. Normally, in the country itself, like for instance, in Indonesia, like Badan POM, they will run tests. So before, even though it's been approved from the clinical trials, each country, they will test it again. And then because different population, different countries, they have a different, different, um, I will say different ecosystem, different environment, and then certain people from certain country may develop allergic to this component, but not the other in the other countries. So it's from the country itself. They will test it again, and then just to make sure that it really won't give you any allergic reaction. Yeah, I think. That's what I can add to that one.
Okay, but thank you so much for your clear explanation. Yeah. So yeah, because they're so rare, yeah, there is almost zero case about this, but yeah, perhaps they need
I
to
haven't heard.
understand first.
I
Yeah,
haven't heard about the
yeah, the
allergic reaction
allergic.
or
Yeah.
COVID-19 though.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, we don't know. This is a very new vaccine, and this is the
Mm.
fastest vaccine I think that
Yes, yes,
has
yes. The
ever
fastest.
been developed in the
Yeah,
world.
like
And
in
it's
a year, I guess.
yeah,
Less.
like
Yeah. Oh my God.
less than a year for yeah. It's
Due
very
to
quick.
pandemic, right? Okay, okay. So perhaps is there any more question? I will take two. I will stop the question from chat box because I know there are 35, no, 32 students here. I know that you got perhaps tingling questions in your mind about COVID-19 vaccine, right? So can you please raise your hand and ask some questions? Yeah, it could be related with the cases perhaps, or even the vaccinated, or even you yourself later on will get vaccinated, right, at the end of the year perhaps, or yeah, or next year, yeah, probably. So yeah, you need to know like yeah, more about what are things that you need, yeah, what are things for you to prepare for the vaccinated, or the components or things. So is there anyone, please? Mm. Yeah, please raise your hand if you have any more questions related to this. Is there?
Maybe from biology club member.
Yeah, perhaps. Not only from English club, yeah, because previously the two of the students asked a question are actually from the English class, English club one. What about the bio one? I know that you probably have more insight about this, and there are things that you need to ask to Miss Yoko here. We got the one who know more about vaccines, so that we not get different concept or misconceptions about the vaccine itself. Is there? Raise your hand first if you have any questions related to this. Perhaps I will take two, Laya, at least from those 32 students, at 30 students, can, because Lewis and Keisha already asked about this. Is there? Is that? Let's wait for a while, Misha.
Of course.
Sometimes they are quite shy.
Yeah.
Perhaps I will have questions here. Previously, I've sent kind of like Slido to my English club sessions, and I've got 6 questions. One of them is like, is it animal test free? I mean, the COVID-19 vaccine. Do
As
you
far as
have?
I know, it's not. It's
Oh, no,
supposed
it's
to
not. Okay.
go. It's supposed to go through animal first before it can go to human. That's what I know.
It that's for every vaccine or just for the COVID one?
Good questions. As far as I know, it has to for I think it's for every vaccine because yeah, so far to my knowledge, I don't know if there is any vaccine that has been developed without going through testing in animals. Yeah.
Okay, very good one. Thank you, Miss Yoko. I've got Fiorenza here to ask question. Hello, Fio.
Hello,
Hello.
Miss.
Okay, Fio. Can you say your questions?
Uh, Miss, if we like teenagers and also for babies and child, if we have the vaccine, do we will be get vaccinated in 1 year later or when?
That's a very good questions. Actually, I haven't touched into like the ages of people who will get the vaccine. So currently, the vaccination they are focusing on elderly people. So in some countries, it's 80 years plus. In Australia, they consider 65 plus, and for I think Pfizer and AstraZeneca one, the recommendation, the vaccine can be given only people age 18 plus for Pfizer and 16 plus for AstraZeneca. So with the age below that one, below 18 and 16, currently probably you wouldn't get the vaccine. But um, we don't know in the next couple of months if they approve for teenagers or child or babies, probably babies not, but we don't know in the next couple of months if they have done testing for this vaccine for teenagers, children, and babies. Because actually, for younger people, they still have like a very strong immune response to this COVID-19. COVID-19 is very unique because if you see from the very beginning, uh, people who contracted the virus and develop severe symptoms or even leading to death, it's normally in their elderly age. Even like young people, like around 20, it's very rare for them to develop severe symptoms. So that's why the current vaccines is prioritized for adults and of course the elderly. And so far, I don't think it has been tested for people with age below 18 and 16 years old. So now, probably not. But in the future, we don't know if they have doing testing in this one. And just to make sure that this vaccine is safe for you guys, then I believe that if it's safe, then it has been tested, then I think you will get it as well. I just realized that. Yeah, that's a good questions. Thanks very much. Age, cool. Yeah, I never thought about that. I feel
Thank
like now
you.
I'm 26, so I must get it.
Yeah. Me too. I'm 28. So should I?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
But of course, we are
So,
not the priority group at this stage.
oh yeah, but perhaps the elder people first, yeah, for
Yeah,
first
yeah,
one. We
yeah,
are the second priority, right? Or
yeah.
the third, or the third.
Probably like both,
Okay.
but
Okay, well, I hopefully.
because we are
Okay.
healthy and young.
Okay, perhaps next questions. Is there? Can you please raise your hand? Is there? Is there? I have one here from. Oh, is there? Oh,
Hello,
Jenna. Hello, Jenna.
hello, Miss. I've been wondering why is the COVID-19 vaccine is different than the other vaccines that use weak viruses. Thank you, Miss.
Oh, that's cool. That's
Okay.
really good questions. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for the question. Um, yeah, why it's different? Hmm, I cannot answer that. Because I think the one that can answer that is the scientist who developed it itself. But the technology itself, the mRNA vaccine, um, it's not new. It's not that new. It's not unknown. It's there, but so far, before COVID-19, um, this technique, this approach with mRNA and viral vector, uh, it's still in clinical trials. Only because of COVID-19, people are focusing on this one, like try to speed up um, how to if they try if we can actually push this through to um, clinical trials and then get the effective vaccine. And it turns out currently their approach is um, this approach results in a higher efficacy compared the weak one. And probably because also about the mechanism itself, because if you use the weak, not the weak, currently COVID-19, they don't use a weakened virus, I guess. They use inactivated virus. So it's basically like dead virus. You send it to the body. It's from what I know, from what I read, if it's mRNA, then you're cells can produce it, so it's more effective. So the immune cells can detect like the protein more effectively compared to the weak one. Probably that is one of the reason, but yeah, it's still a very new approaches in vaccine. Why it's different? Well, to be honest, I don't know how to answer that one. But it's not a new brand. It's not unknown. It's there, but the progress was still in clinical trials. People still testing it whether it's safe or it's actually working or not. But because of COVID-19, it's actually boost these approaches. Like now, it's like in front of the conventional one. Hopefully that explains.
Okay, yeah, because of the pandemic, yeah, we have
Yeah,
kind of like a
you
year
know,
ongoing pandemic, and people need to think out of the box
yeah.
to get the
When you
vaccine,
are under
right?
pressure, then you've got
Yeah,
a
there's
lot of
always
ideas.
solution, right? Okay. Okay, perhaps the last questions is there. If there is no more questions, I will wrap it up. Is there any more questions? I will count then, yeah. And okay. I thought that there is a question, but it turns out Mr. Alvin just remind you about the link, attendance list link for the English club as well as the biology club. Don't forget to fill up the link there in the chat box. You can find it. It's just been shared by Mr. Alvin. Okay, is there any more questions? Perhaps
Burning
from you?
questions.
Yeah, burning question, tingling questions. Is there? Okay, it seems like they are. It seems like. Oh wait, the last one. Oh, okay. There's a from
Oh.
Jacqueline. Okay, so this is going to be the last question. Hi, Jacqueline.
Hello, Miss.
Hello. Okay, Jacqueline, can you say your questions?
My question is, I've heard that the distance between where you get the first vaccine and the second vaccine is different depending on your age. Why is it different?
Interesting questions. I actually haven't heard about this. To be honest, what I know is the distance between the first and the second injection of the vaccine is different. Depends on which vaccine you get. That's what I know, not because of the age. So, for instance, I think for Pfizer, the gap between the first and second injection is 2 weeks, but I will suggest you to check again in their website. This is just what I remember. And for AstraZeneca, I think it's a bit longer. It's probably around 2 a month or a couple of weeks. It's longer than Pfizer. And for Johnson and Johnson, they actually just one shot, so they don't need like the second injection. Yeah, so that's what I never heard about that, but I can have a look. Yeah, it's interesting. Depends on the age. Yeah, I never heard about that. What I know, it's the gap. The difference. It's only if it's from different vaccines. So if it's Pfizer, you need to get like a couple of around 2 weeks. Then if it's AstraZeneca, it's gonna be like a month. Then probably other vaccines will be 1.5 months or 3 months. We don't know. So yeah, that's what I know. It depends on the vaccine itself, not because of the age. That's what I know. But yeah, that's a good point. Thanks for asking about that. Yeah,
Thank
I don't
you.
know
Thank you, Miss
more.
Yoko. And thank you also, Jacqueline, for asking. So probably it's about the different types of vaccine. Yeah, if it's
Yeah,
Pfizer and AstraZeneca, they are different as well as
yeah,
with Sinovac. So yeah, perhaps the length is different
yeah,
according to the types of the vaccine.
yeah.
Okay, so Miss Yoko, can you give out for the last section, yeah, the closing
All right.
remarks. Can
Closing
you give,
remarks.
yeah, the closing remarks.
All
Okay,
right.
can you give us
Of
like
course.
short words, perhaps one or two sentences to conclude, yeah, all the things that we have discussed today, so that they can get like a better conclusion about the things that we just shared in this afternoon.
Yeah, so basically, vaccination, the vaccine itself will help you to build your immune system, so they are stronger when they face a new threats like bacteria or viruses. For instance, if you get COVID-19 vaccination, then if you get infected by COVID-19 virus, then your body will be ready to fight the virus, so you won't get sick or develop a severe symptoms. But again, it takes time for our immune system to develop the protection to generate the amount of antibodies necessary to defeat the virus. So in the meantime, after you get your vaccination, keep your 3M. I think in Indonesia it's 3M, right? Wear your mask, stay 1.5 meter apart, and always sanitize your hands, wash your hands, because yeah, you never know. Even after you get vaccination, it takes around 28 days to have the full protection. So yeah, it's better to be safe than be sorry.
Yeah, thank you so much, Miss Yoko, for the
No
wonderful
problem.
presentation, for the material that you have shared to us. I hope that this material can be also useful for the student here, while later on they will get also vaccinated. Yeah, for in the future perhaps. Yeah. Okay, so for before we end our session today, I will invite Mr. Alvin to lead the closing prayer here. So, Mr. Alvin.
Okay, so before I pray, I would say thank you to Miss Yoko. She is my friend actually. So yeah, thank you for the time. Thank you for the good sharing today. Okay, so let's close our meeting and let's pray. Dear Father in heaven, we thank you for your blessing so that we have our small webinar today and we have the wonderful opportunity which is to learn from Miss Yoko about vaccine. We also pray for Miss Yoko in her daily activities as a researcher. God will give her wisdom so she can complete her PhD well. We also pray for our country, Indonesia. We know that we are in the middle of the pandemic condition. We ask God to always cover us and protect us and also our families from any sickness. And now as we close the meeting, we ask you, Lord, to be with us with while we do a lot of activities in the rest of this day. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining today's meeting. I hope you get new knowledge about this. See you in the next meeting. Have a nice day. God bless you all. Thank you so much. Don't forget for the note-taking activities. See you guys.
This weekend, thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Miss. God bless
Thank
you.
you. God
Thank
bless
you.
you. Thank
Alvin.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Thank you, Kenzie, Lawrence.